Hello YouTubers, this is an ectoplasmic HURL, and this is about one of my scariest paranormal moments that I've ever experienced in my entire life. Um, so I guess this would be, my own little my ghost story. So I know that there are a lot of skeptics out there, and I could understand that if you've never just legitly have witnessed and been in the presence of something that made itself so known to you, um, and not really being there. I can completely understand that because I was one of those people. And here we go. So, I really don't, I just wanted to say, it's okay if there are people out there that don't believe what I have to say, because I don't really tell many people this, but I feel like I might as well just say how I feel, since this is my channel. My close friends know, and some old high school friends knew what happened, and it leaves me speechless still till this very day. It was probably about junior year when I would go over my friend Sherry's house every Friday, and we end up dispersing Saturday. Now, it wasn't just me that would be over her house. Her mom wasn't really one of those moms that looked after their children, so as teenagers we took advantage of that. And her mother was always over her boyfriend's house, and then Sherry might have had one sister there, because she had two sisters. No, she had three sisters. One might have been there, and that was the second oldest. Her name was Shanna. And then she had another sister, two younger sisters that stayed with their aunt. So it would be me, Sherry, Shanna. It would be my friend Ashley and Caitlin. So there's 4 or 5 girls at, Sherry's house every weekend by ourselves with no supervision whatsoever. So the first night, I can't tell you why we spent the night over there over and over and over again, knowing how the house was. And what I mean by saying how the house was, it was so crazy. There was some guy, I don't know who it was. I was fairly new to Oklahoma because I come from Oakland, California. So she had told, I didn't know about what happened at the house. I wasn't watching the news because I didn't even have a chance to, wasn't here. But I know that she said that a guy had shot himself in the head in her mother's bedroom. Now, I was kind of weary about going into her house because I had never been in a house related with death as far as I knew, or especially when someone had committed suicide in the house. So all of a sudden we're like, yeah, let's hang out at Sherry's, and this is probably about the first night. Like I said, I can't tell you why we spent the night over there every night after this incident, but kind of felt like this was the beginning of a lot of things that were to come. So it's about probably, I want to say 6:30. We had been to the mall. I had just got my car, and I got my license, and we would go to the mall, and sometimes we'd even play hooky from school. And we had got some food or whatever, some Chinese food, brought it back, had a whole bunch of clothes and stuff from the mall and everything. And I decided, hey Sherry, I'm kind of thirsty, do you mind if I get something to drink? And then I asked anybody else if they wanted to get something, or did they want something to drink. And she told me previously that the guy shot himself in the head in her mother's room. Now, I had no idea that her mother's room was right next to the kitchen, because there was like a kitchen, and then there's like the garage, the washroom, and then further back is their mom's room, and they all connect to the kitchen. And then there's like a little small corridor, and then a longer corridor which leads to all the other rooms in the house, and then upstairs in a smaller room. The upstairs only leads to like one door that goes into a small room that was her little sister's room, but her little sister never slept in there. I went in the kitchen, and I kind of felt like this kind of feels kind of weird, and I don't know if it was just me feeling like she was like, and me being scared, because I was kind of weary about like, where's her mom's room, like maybe it's back on the other side of the house. Now her mom's bedroom door was like creaked open, and the only light that was back there with me was with the light with the kitchen, and the washroom light was turned off. So next thing I know, I was looking in the cabinets, got out some cups, and I started pouring root beer. And as soon as I got on my last cup, I was pouring my root beer, I felt like something creak against the floor and walk straight up to me and had like hot breath on my ear, and I would have swore on my life that it said, if only if you could just, and it was like a man's voice, and it sounded kind of miffed at me. So like, you know, back in those days, when, even still now sometimes, like when someone's talking to you like kind of crazy, and I just turn around and I'm just like, who are you think that you're talking to? And I'm just looking like who is this person talking to me like this? Like, I don't understand. And then I finally like realized, like, Danielle, there was no one in the house when you guys walked in. You just walked back here in the kitchen, and there was no one here. So who could possibly have been, who is possibly speaking to you, like who? And as soon as I felt the hot breath and it said, if only if you could just, I swear I dropped a 2 liter of root beer everywhere over the floor. I knocked over cups to try to get straight out of the kitchen, ran out of the kitchen screaming, down the small corridor screaming, out of the living room screaming, and into the front lawn screaming down the street. Now, it took some coaxing to get me to come back in the house, because, you know, one, you know, chicken's gonna scare the whole bunch. So I'm running out of the house screaming. So everybody else in the living room, they're running out of the house screaming. They're like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? Are you okay, Danielle? Are you okay? And I'm just like, no, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay whatsoever. I'm, you know, I'm just, I can't even speak. Like, I'm crying, like rolling in the grass, like crying as soon as they got me to come back, like even on the vicinity of like the house, the land that it sat on. And like, it took me quite a while. They're like, Danielle, we promise, like, it's gonna be okay. And I'm like, it's not gonna be okay. There is something inside that house. I don't know how they got me to go back in the house. I have no idea. And I don't understand why we kept going back there, because afterward there had been like crazy stuff that would happen in the house. Like, I remember one time after we had like gotten just so acquainted with the house, because we spent the night over there every weekend of my junior and almost senior year. It was like about 6 or 7 of us in the bed, because Sherry's like little sisters were there, and we were just like passed out, and all of a sudden, like, we had like a house party and we had been drinking, but you know, since everybody left, we all slept in Sherry and Jana's bed. So they had like this alarm clock that hooked up to the wall, so it was right next to the bed. It was about I want to say 2:30 in the morning, almost 3 in the morning, where it went off, and it was playing Fall Out Boy, and that's when they were like just really like big, and it was just playing on the radio. And then I'm like, you know, Sherry, because it's like 5 other people, and it's like me, and then it's Shanna. Um, Sherry's on the other side of the bed in the corner. Um, I'm like, Shanna, and Shanna, Sherry's little sister. I'm like, hey, you know, turn off the whatever it is. And she was like, huh? And I was like, turn it off, because I could, like, it was just so loud, and it only woke me up, and it was just so strange. So she reaches over, and she couldn't turn it off for whatever reason, so she rips the cord out of the wall. I knew subliminal, like, in the back of my mind, that she had ripped the cord out of the wall. So probably about, I want to say 7 in the morning, probably a couple of hours after, because I remember looking at the clock. It was still on. Yeah, it was still on. It came on again, and I was like, Shanna, turn it off. And then she goes like, I did. And I was like, turn it off, it's playing. And she was like, I know. She was like, it's loud. And I'm like, yeah, turn it off. So she grabs the thing, and she throws it because she couldn't get it to like turn off. So she threw it across the room, turned off. So later on in the day, like, everyone's up, we're like eating lunch and everything. It was funny because I was like, Shanna, remember there was like that thing that kept going off? I was like, what's wrong with your alarm clock? She goes like, I ripped it out of the cord one more time, and I mean the first time, and then I'm like, really, you ripped it out? And she said, yeah. So it was playing while it was ripped out of the wall for the second time. She looked inside of the clock. It had no batteries in it, so there was no way the thing that should be playing at all. We were so freaked out after we found out. We just decided to not even talk about it because it was just too much. It was really too much. And I remember one time in the house where me and my best friend Ashley, we were sleeping on the couch, and everyone else was in the bedroom, because, yeah, that was a whole nother thing while we were kind of separated. But I kept seeing like a shadow move from the top bedroom all the way down and go like across, and I like, it was taunting me. I felt like it was literally just, yeah, not fun at all. The washing machine back in there in the kitchen where her mother room was would come on, and it would shut off, and it was a pretty brand new washing machine. Like, there was no reason why the light on the inside should be like flickering on and off, and then they turn it off, and then they come back in there and the light's on. And the house was just really disturbed, and yeah, so that was really another thing that happened with that house. And one thing that did happen was, I don't know my grandfather very much, or my past grandfather. I didn't know him very well. He lived in Arkansas, so he had died. I seen him once, and it was probably like a couple years, I want to say 3 years before he died. And then he died in July of 2006, I believe. That was the year before, I think after my junior year. I'm not sure. Going to go for my junior year of high school. So my Uncle Maurice, they say that, you know, he's very, you know, clairvoyant and audiovoyant, and I don't know, it was just like a family rumor or whatever, but like my dad says it's true. It's not something that I ever talked to my Uncle Maurice about. So my Uncle Maurice's house, like, I'm sitting in his chair. Like, my mom and my Aunt Michelle, they went out for groceries to cook dinner that night because it was the night before the funeral. So my uncle, he's like sitting on this L-shaped couch, and I'm sitting on this other part of the couch. My dad is outside smoking a cigarette. I don't know if he went to the store to pick up beers for my uncle, but like we were just sitting there watching TV, and on my side of the couch there's a long corridor, and I can see like the rooms. Like there's like 3 rooms. There's like one on one side, one on the other, and then one at the end of the hallway. And then of course there's a bathroom as well on one side of the rooms. So I am looking at the TV, and on the side of me, all I could see are this like tall shadow casting a figure on the walls, and they're going like in and out of each room, not in a super fast motion, but like kind of like sort of like it's moving pretty fast, but it's not exactly slow, like like an actual person that's just walking between rooms. And I'm like, I know there's nobody back there, and I'm like just like this, like looking on the side, and I'm looking at the TV. And actually, let me cut that story. Before that had happened, I was in the bathroom rinsing my face off, and then when I looked in the mirror, I had seen a glimpse of a different face. Wasn't quite sure what face it was. So I'm like, you know what? I just need to get some more sleep. I don't know what's going on. I'm kind of freaked out at the funeral because I've never been to one before. And it turns out later that when I got to see the viewing of the body, that was my grandfather. I seen him one time. He didn't look like how he did in the casket. So it really freaked me out as soon as I cried right then and there, because it wasn't him that I was crying that he died per se. It was because like I knew he wasn't coming back, and I knew that he was laying there, and that like death did this to him, and the fact that it was the same person that had looked at me in the mirror. And back to my other story, I'm looking at this shadow going from room to room, and all of a sudden my uncle snaps his head at me. He was like, "You see him, don't you?" And I was like there was just tears rolling down my face, and all I could do was go like just tears rolling down my face. And he was like, it's not something for you should worry about. He just wants to know what's going on. He's just, very curious as to what's going on, and he doesn't want to harm anybody. He's just curious. And yeah, absolutely crazy. So intense. But those are my 2 to 3 kind of a plethora of ghost stories. So thank you all for listening to me, and if you have any ghost stories, don't be afraid to like post the response on the bottom. Don't be afraid to type a comment or leave me a message on how you feel about certain things, because I would love to know others' ghost stories or whatever supernatural, paranormal stories that you do have. So you can always follow me on Tumblr or Tumblr Luxury Dash Tax. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Danny of the Wild. Now that's spelled DANNIOFTHEWILD. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm sorry that this is so long, but I'll see you guys later. Bye.